And the Global Alliance, we have a tremendous amount of access in the private sector. And in fact, at the time of the last year of Kofi Annan's Secretary General term, we did bring a group of big corporations, Cisco, HP, IBM. There were 5 organizations from the private sector who were ready to work with the UN to start that process of a comprehensive, coherent, UN system-wide approach to information technology, not only for internal purposes. We are very glad that this Secretary General has now appointed a new information technology, Chief Information Technology Officer, and there is a UN strategy on ICT which is now going to be funded. The General Assembly has approved the funding process, but that is only a first step. How do you move to that, from there to the UN system-wide approach? And I think that is one of the most important things that the UN system needs to undertake. And this conference, this web managers event can be a very powerful platform for bringing about that kind of cultural change. The mindset needs to change from the organizational level to the system level. What we are telling developing countries, governments, is that in order to have a better educational system, you have to have a systemic approach. We are telling them that health systems can be transformed into e-health systems with a systemic approach. We are telling them that e-government needs to talk to each other, and they have to create platforms which cut across ministries and organizations. We are telling them that participatory approach requires a systemic change in how governments deal with people. Democratic and participatory and dignity-based and human-based approaches. But we are not doing this within ourselves, among our organizations and within the system. So my key point here is, how can the Global Alliance, working with the web managers and the ICT managers in the UN system, and working with the Chief Information Technology Officer here at the UN, this with the CEB Secretariat and the Secretary General's leadership, and we can bring a very important contribution from the private sector, whom we engage with on a constant basis. The chairman of the Global Alliance is Mr. Craig Barrett, who's the chairman of Intel Corporation. And we have developing countries, major private sector people participating in the alliance, and from the European and the North American side. So we are capable of bringing about the necessary capacity for change. But the ability to do so will depend on people like you, the web managers and the ICT managers, the policy makers at the higher level, which means the Chief Technology Officer and the Secretary General, the CEB, and the General Assembly and the intergovernmental process. Now, it's a very big challenge, but I think the UN needs to accomplish this in order for it to become a modern, knowledge-based organization which can engage the developing countries' counterparts in a much more engaged and equal level, not as giving advice, but taking advice, participating from the roots onwards, grassroots onwards, and to say that this is how we can benefit and learn from what needs to be done at the ground level, and how we can contribute to that process. So that non-hierarchical approach to development, which is really truly participatory, which is not based on advice, but sharing of knowledge. That is what we talk about when we think about knowledge-based society and information society, which is equitable and participatory and open and so forth. So I would rather stop here rather than talking a lot about what we have done in the past. You can visit our website and see what has been accomplished in the past 2 years. This is the key message that I would like to give, how to take that next step, which can transform not only the UN system, which can transform the process of development itself, and which can transform the relationship between those who we are trying to help, the developing countries, and those who are helping. We help each other rather than being on the receiving end and on the giver's end or a donor's end. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think we do have time for a few questions. If you find one, yes, please.
Hi, I'm Tammy Holman from allafrica.com, and I'm essentially posing the same question to various people encountered here, which is, have your people thought about how to harmonize and integrate information so that you know who's doing what where in the field. The UN has many agencies, of course, and many of their programs overlap, and there's a lot of concern in countries that people don't know what each other are doing and are wasting scarce resources by duplication of effort.
Yeah, I'm glad that you have raised this point, because we are in fact now in the process of talking to a number of Silicon Valley entrepreneurs, and Google and Yahoo as well, and Facebook, to do something like that, which means we are trying to launch what we call a U movement. U, the letter U, like YouTube. U are U, that is YOU. U is United Nations. U is United Nations Millennium Development Goals. And U is us, US. So that if we look at it that way, then if we have a U movement which is based on Web 2.0 or even Web 3.0 approach, take the Google map of Earth, Google Earth, and if we can overlay on the Google map basic information on what is going on, particularly on the Millennium Development Goals, in each country, not only the UN system, but all other sources of development projects and programs in each country relating to the Millennium Development Goals. It is now being worked on, and our goal is, in fact, if you go to the Facebook, there is already a big discussion taking place on the concept and the structure of this U movement and how to build a knowledge base, online knowledge base, using the latest technology and tools, which can then provide access to anyone, not only the UN system, but anyone on Earth, to a particular country and say, okay, country X, let us say Uganda, what is UNDP doing on MDGs in Uganda? Or what is World Bank doing? Or even what is CARE doing? Or what is a private foundation such as the Ford Foundation doing? Or what is the local NGO doing on the issue of health, let us say? So there is a big effort at this moment. This is similar to what is being done by Google Books. The idea that the world knowledge should be put online. Our goal is, I don't know whether it's feasible to do it immediately, but our goal is to start the process to build a base from where you can really have a global knowledge bank for development, which would be available to everyone. So the U movement is one tool for mobilizing people to participate in this process. U movement is also a tool to mobilize people to engage in development itself. And U movement is a third level, is a tool for cultural change and also for fundraising. But the goal is what now you see many websites where now people are mobilizing resources by not people asking to contribute, but by people asking to participate in the process. And through that, funding is raised. I mean, the Obama campaign is a classic example of how this was done. But there are very good examples of very young people, much younger than all of us sitting in this room, who are raising hundreds of thousands of dollars by a participatory approach, a diversified, distributed, decentralized approach to development, to your cause. You know the causes, the famous movement on causes, and there are many others like that, Everyone and so on, where you can participate in a cause and thereby contribute, because others will provide the funding if they see that this cause is working. So there are many approaches that we need to address, not only the knowledge part, but the mobilization part, the cultural change part, and mobilization of resources, the funding part, so that we can really transform, as I said in the beginning, the way development is seen, the development is thought about, and development is carried out. I hope that this is the approach that this group will advance as we move forward for the next year and the year after. Because that's what I was understood. We were talking about the next steps and the future. The future is so bright and so vast. I can tell you with the current despondency about what is happening in the world economy and what's happening in the US, and the world is all talking about the financial crisis, but the opportunity out there is far greater than this little blip in the history of the universe, of the world. Because we have the capacity to transform development and transform human future in the next 5 to 10 years. I'm not talking about long term. In the long term, we are all dead.
Well,
I shouldn't say that.
before that happens, maybe we can take one more question. Is there anyone out there who would like to ask something?